See? Collecting rainwater. Free water. Nothing wrong with that. Still not illegal, right? Look at that barrel filling up. And it's all mine!
Somewhere in the last 20 years, somebody told you it was illegal to collect rainwater. Maybe you read it online. Maybe a neighbor mentioned it. Maybe you looked into setting up a barrel under your downspout and somebody warned you that you could get fined. And so you never did it. You left the rain that fell on your own roof, on your own property, running down your own driveway into a storm drain owned by a municipality that then sells processed water back to you for $80 a month. I want to tell you exactly how that story started, who started it, and why almost everything you believe about rainwater collection law in this country is wrong. And then I am going to show you a $15 setup that collects hundreds of gallons of free drinking water every single time it rains. About 8 years ago, I was talking to a man named Gerald who runs a small farm outside of Lexington, Kentucky. He had 6 55-gallon barrels connected under his barn roof gutters. Simple system. Downspout goes into barrel. Barrel fills. Overflow goes to the next barrel. 6 barrels in a row along the back of his barn. I asked him if he worried about the legality of it. He looked at me the way a man looks at someone who just asked something genuinely confusing. He said his grandfather had collected rainwater on that same property since 1931. His father had done it. He had done it his entire adult life. He had never once heard of anyone in Kentucky being fined or arrested for collecting rain that fell on their own land. Then he said something I have thought about many times since. He said the only people who want you to believe collecting rainwater is illegal are the people who sell you water. I went home and spent 3 days reading actual state statutes. Not news articles, not forum posts, actual law. What I found is not what most people believe. Here's the actual legal landscape of rainwater collection in the United States as it stands today. Rainwater collection is completely legal with 0 restrictions in 49 states. Completely legal. No permit, no limit, no registration required. The one state with meaningful restrictions is Colorado. And even Colorado, which for decades had among the strictest water laws in the country due to its complex prior appropriation water rights doctrine, changed its law in 2016 to allow residents to collect up to 110 gallons of rainwater from residential rooftops with no permit required. That is 2 55-gallon barrels, legal in Colorado right now. Utah allows up to 2,500 gallons of stored rainwater with a simple, free registration. Oregon, which was frequently cited online as having strict rainwater laws, allows collection from residential rooftops with no restrictions whatsoever. Washington State, also frequently misrepresented online, actively encourages rainwater harvesting and provides state resources to help residents set up collection systems. So where did this idea come from that collecting rainwater was broadly illegal across America? The short answer is that it came from the same place most things that keep you dependent on a paid system come from. A combination of corporate interest, regulatory capture, and a myth that spread faster than anyone bothered to fact-check it. Here is the longer answer. Western water law in states like Colorado, Nevada, and Arizona is built on a doctrine called prior appropriation. The basic idea is that water rights are owned, not by the land the water falls on, but by whoever first put that water to beneficial use and registered that claim. In the 1800s, mining companies and agricultural operations registered water rights on rivers and streams throughout the American West. Those rights are still valid today. The argument that was made, occasionally in specific Western states by specific water rights holders, was that rainwater falling on your property was part of a watershed that fed streams and rivers on which downstream users held prior appropriation rights. Therefore, collecting it before it reached those streams theoretically reduced the downstream flow those rights depended on. This legal theory was never broadly applied. It was never used to prosecute a residential homeowner collecting water from a rooftop barrel in any state. It was a niche argument in water rights litigation between large agricultural and municipal users. But it got picked up, it got repeated, it got turned into headlines like collecting rainwater is illegal in these states. People shared those headlines without reading the underlying law, and slowly, a specific legal doctrine that applied to large-scale diversion of surface water in a handful of western states became a nationwide myth that convinced millions of American homeowners that the rain falling on their own roof was somehow not theirs to collect. The municipal water industry, a $100 billion a year business in the United States, had absolutely no financial incentive to correct that myth. So they didn't. You already know that rain is free. You have always known that. You know that your grandparents had rain barrels. Your great-grandparents had cisterns, underground tanks that collected and stored rainwater for household use throughout the year. Before municipal water systems existed, the majority of rural American households depended on collected rainwater for drinking, cooking, cleaning, and irrigation. The American Midwest was settled by families who dug cisterns before they dug foundations. The farmhouse came second. The water storage came first, because without water, nothing else mattered. Somewhere between 1950 and 1980, as municipal water systems expanded and the tap became reliable, that knowledge went quiet. Not because it stopped working, not because it became illegal, because it became unnecessary for a generation that trusted the infrastructure. That infrastructure now costs the average American family $800 to $1,200 a year, and the rain is still free, still falling on your roof, still running into the storm drain. The system Gerald had behind his barn is called a rainwater harvesting system. The residential version is called a rain barrel system. The underground version your great-grandparents used is called a cistern. The basic above-ground barrel version requires 4 things: a collection surface, your roof, a transport channel, your existing gutters and downspout, a storage container, a barrel or tank, and a first flush diverter, a simple device that diverts the first few gallons of water from each rain event, which carries most of the dust and debris off your roof before directing the cleaner water that follows into your storage barrel. That is the entire system: surface, channel, diverter, storage. Gerald's 6-barrel system held 330 gallons. His roof collected that in a single moderate rainstorm. His barn roof is roughly 1,200 square feet. Here is the math that should stop you cold. Every inch of rainfall on 1,000 square feet of roof produces approximately 600 gallons of water. 1 inch of rain, 1,000 square feet, 600 gallons. The average American home has a roof between 1,500 and 2,500 square feet. The average American city receives between 20 and 50 inches of rain per year. Do that math with your own roof and your own local rainfall, and the number you get is the amount of free water that has been running off your property and into the municipal storm system every single year, while you paid $800 to $1,200 for processed water from a pipe. Here is everything you need for the basic system: a 55-gallon food-grade barrel, used barrels that previously held food products, juice concentrate, olive oil, soy sauce, are available at restaurant supply stores, food distributors, and online for $5 to $10. Sometimes free if you know where to ask. A first flush diverter. This is the one piece you cannot skip. It diverts the first 2 to 3 gallons of each rain event, the water that washes the dust, bird droppings, and debris off your roof. before directing the cleaner water into your barrel. You can buy a simple one for $8 to $12 at any garden center or hardware store. You can build one from PVC fittings for under $3. A spigot for the bottom of the barrel, $1.50 at any hardware store. A piece of fine mesh screen to cover the barrel opening and keep mosquitoes out. $1. A short section of flexible downspout extension to redirect water from your existing gutter into the barrel. $2. That is your complete system. $15 or less. Materials available at any hardware store in America. Install time, 1 afternoon. The installation takes about 2 hours and requires no special skills. I'll start by positioning your barrel directly under an existing downspout. You want it as close to the house as practical. Elevation matters. Place the barrel on a few cinder blocks or a simple wooden platform so the spigot clears the ground enough to fill a watering can underneath it. Even 8 inches of elevation makes daily use dramatically easier. Drill a hole near the bottom of the barrel size to fit your spigot snugly. Thread the spigot in and seal around it with waterproof silicone. Let it cure completely before you put water in the barrel. Now install your first flush diverter on the downspout above the barrel. The diverter has 2 outlets, one that fills a small chamber that captures the first flush of dirty water, and one that directs everything after that first flush into your barrel. Follow the package instructions. This is a 15-minute installation on any standard downspout. Cut your downspout above the diverter attachment point and redirect the lower section into the barrel opening using your flexible extension piece. Cover the barrel opening with your mesh screen and secure it tightly. Mosquitoes breed in standing water. The screen is not optional. Add an overflow port near the top of the barrel. A short section of hose or pipe that directs excess water away from your foundation when the barrel fills. This is the one piece most people forget and the one piece that matters most for protecting your foundation. That is the complete installation. Rain falls. Gutters collect it. Downspout carries it. First flush diverter removes the dirty water. Clean water fills the barrel. Spigot lets you use it. Now, let me be direct about what this water is good for and what it needs before you drink it. Straight from the barrel with a first flush diverter. This water is excellent for garden irrigation, washing vehicles, flushing toilets, and any non-potable household use. It is free, it is soft, it contains no chlorine or fluoride, and plants respond to it dramatically better than to treated municipal water. For drinking and cooking, you need one additional step. The same simple filtration system I showed you in a previous video. A plastic bottle with the bottom cut off. Inverted, layered with cotton, activated charcoal, fine sand, and cotton again. Pour your collected water through from the top. What drips out the bottom is filtered, clean, and safe to drink. Add 1 drop of plain unscented bleach per gallon if you want absolute certainty. Look, Gerald told me his family drank collected rainwater filtered through a simple carbon system for 30 years on that farm. Never had a problem. His kids grew up on it. His grandkids visit and drink it now. The municipal water authority serving his county has never once contacted him about it. The pattern here is the same pattern that shows up every single time a system of corporate dependency replaces a practice of individual self-sufficiency. Roman cities had elaborate cistern systems for collecting and storing rainwater. Pompeii, the same city with the soap factory, had household cisterns under nearly every home. Medieval European cities collected rainwater in public cisterns that served entire neighborhoods. Colonial American households built cisterns before they built root cellars. The American frontier was settled in significant part by people whose survival depended on knowing exactly how to collect, store, filter, and use the water that fell from the sky onto their land. Then came municipal infrastructure. Then came the message, subtle at first, then relentless, that tap water was safer, cleaner, more reliable, and that anyone still collecting rainwater was doing something primitive, backwards, unnecessary, and somewhere in that messaging, nobody can point to exactly where it started. The myth appeared that collecting rainwater was not just unnecessary, but actually illegal. A legal fiction that had no basis in the law of 49 states, but spread with the efficiency of something that served a very specific financial interest. The Amish never stopped collecting rainwater, neither did Gerald. Neither did millions of rural Americans who simply never heard the myth or heard it and checked the actual law and ignored it. The rain that fell on their roofs was theirs. It always had been. $15 one afternoon, and the next time it rains, which it will, because it always does, that water belongs to you. Not to the municipal water authority, not to the utility company, not to the prior appropriation water rights holder 3 states away, whose legal argument was never once applied to a homeowner with a barrel under a downspout. To you. Your great-grandparents knew this. Gerald's grandfather knew this. The Amish have always known this. And somewhere between the expansion of municipal water infrastructure and the spread of a myth that nobody bothered to verify, most of us forgot it. It took me 3 days of reading actual state statutes to unlearn something I had believed for years without ever checking whether it was true. It took you about 10 minutes. Drop your state in the comments and tell me how many inches of rain you get per year. I will tell you exactly how many gallons you have been sending into the storm drain every year while paying for water from a pipe. Take care. See you in the next one.